Hello and welcome to the show. Now, when it comes to Forza 5, upgrading your cars is very important, whether it be for multiplayer races or single-player stuff and so on. The game does have an option to quick upgrade the car. You can just press a button and it'll put it up to whatever class that you want. However, it's often better to build the car yourself. You'll get a much faster car as you can pick and choose what parts you use. However, we were curious to see what would happen if a whole field of us would use these quick upgraded cars and go racing with them. So that's what we did. For our first race, we were using C-Class cars, and amazingly, I wasn't at the back of the field. For the first time ever in one of these races, I started 14th. There were 2 cars behind me. It was so rare. But yeah, these cars, none of us had driven these vehicles before. They were all bought and quick upgraded in the lobby. So we had no idea what to expect as we went racing. I played it a little bit safe. C-Class muscle car was going to be a good choice for me. I went for a Firebird Trans Am, a generation that I had never used before. I do have a very fast C-Class Firebird. As we ran down the hill for the first time, things went wrong for an MR2. Got a big twitch over the curb, kind of bounced off the side of my car. Had very little effect to the Firebird, just sort of slightly put me across the grass. A Golf did really well to avoid the spinning Toyota, put himself on the grass, but yeah, you know, there was likely to be more mistakes in this one, as we had no idea what we were going to be driving, so I had turned the damage off, so it's just on cosmetic damage, to give people kind of a chance. A Ferrari outbraked himself into the chicane. I got a big twitch coming out of the chicane. I'm across the grass, a Mazda further back was across the grass, so all of my straight line speed and getting past the Sierra was for nothing, and then as we come around the final turn, I eat a little bit too much curb, and it's a very big slide from the Firebird. I get it under control and we don't make a real mess of things. If I'd spun it there in front of the most of the pack, that would have been very, very bad. But I recovered it, lost a couple of places, dropped back behind the MX-5, but yeah, I kept it together while I was having a big scary moment at the front. Second place was about to change hands. A BMW got himself to the inside of an MR2, a lovely clean pass from the BMW. Toyota, a little bit too far back to try anything through the next corner, and yeah, the BMW would move up to second, but the Corvette out in front, where you can barely see it in shot anymore, had got a really decent sized margin at the opening few laps. The Sierra that I had failed to overtake was keen to try and get past a Scion, the only front-wheel drive car in the field, and the Sierra saw a gap. It was just about a Ford's width and got his car up the inside. That's a very impressive overtake. Like, the Scion must have thought he'd got that covered, and the Sierra just finds probably a little bit of understeer from the front-wheel drive Scion, just finds the space as a great overtake. That one, the Scion was struggling, in all honesty. He was dropping back through the field. Wasn't long before he was in the clutches of my Firebird, while still fighting with the Golf. Is all nose to tail as we run down the hill. Again, the Scion getting just a little bit on 2 wheels, bumping across the curb. I thought about having a dive, but there's a little bit of lag to change my mind. But you can just see the grip that I have in this Firebird. If we run around, it's a really long corner, this one. Get to the inside of the Scion on the pass is done. Unfortunately, the Sierra and the Fiat would have a bit of a laggy crash and end up dropping down. That's why you saw them littered across the track. But yeah, the grip from the Firebird was really impressive. Really, really impressive, especially around that very, very long corner. At the front, the Corvette was leading the way, but he too went for a very big slide around the final turn. Pretty much a carbon copy of what I did on lap 1, and the BMW would, well, he would seize the opportunity. Corvette's not giving up without a fight, though. Has a dive up the inside. I think he hits the curb. Either that or he's just slow around the inside of the corner. Either way, the BMW can get the move done. Not quite over yet, though. The Corvette was certainly going to be giving chase. This little group, it was kind of over around 5th place. The MR2 would make a mistake, smack the wall at the final corner, and drop back into 5th. And this whole group of cars were beginning to squabble over 5th place. The Mazda had a look at the inside of the Toyota, couldn't get the move done, slowed himself down quite a bit around this really long corner, and the Golf saw his opportunity, got the car up the inside as they come down the back straight, and just about gets the pass done. The Mazda thinks about having a dive, but isn't quite confident enough on the right brakes, not quite close enough to try anything, and the Golf propelled himself up into 6th. and would give chase to the MR2. At the front, the Corvette tried. He got close a couple of times. I think he had one sort of dive that didn't quite pay off and fell back a little bit from the BMW. All three of us at the front were setting very, very similar, very quick lap times. The BMW, though, was to take victory ahead of the Corvette. I was in third, made a couple of mistakes on the closing laps trying to push and catch these guys, so didn't really close the gap in the end. Yeah, all three of us, though, were going very fast. Had all really quite decent C-Class cars, in all honesty. Further back, though, it's fifth place, where everything would go crazy on the final lap. The Dodge Dart was pointing backwards at the start of this race, would recover and would just join this group. The MR2 got things wrong coming down the hill, put a wheel on the curb, spun his car, everybody scatters. The Mazda did so well to avoid that accident. The Dart dodges them. In all of the chaos, the Dart finds his way around the outside of the Mazda. Again, a great opportunistic overtake. That one, he then has so much speed running onto this back straight compared to the Golf. Golf doesn't have time to get across and go defensive. The Dart can get himself up the inside, is on the brakes, doesn't run wide, and there's nothing the Golf can do about the Dodge there. The Mazda's doing a little bit of rallycross across the inside of the chicane there. The NSX up ahead, that would claim fourth, with the Dart getting a sideways around the final corner and claiming fifth. Yeah, lots of sideways muscle cars around that final turn. For our second race, we would go up to B-Class cars as we would tackle Laguna Seca. These cars, we're now starting to get relatively quick, and with auto upgrades, again, never sure what you're going to be getting, how much power you're going to be getting out of the cars. Quite a laggy Supra on the outside of turn one, unfortunately, but everybody else, apart from a Subaru escaping the road on his own, made it through pretty cleanly the first corner. As we come up towards the second turn, I think there's another slight lag thing going on. A Firebird gets really twitchy and ends up on the sand. Unfortunately, things would go disastrously wrong. The leader in a Clio V6 gets really twitchy, loses control of it, bounces it kind of off the wall and along the road here. Corvette gets caught up and then scooped by the Escort Cosworth, goes for a little flight down the road. Yeah, a little unfortunate. We expected there to be perhaps a few more incidents. You don't know what you're going to be getting. Clio V6 being twitchy, just couldn't quite gather it up, and the Corvette got caught up in all of that. Yeah, it's what's likely to happen with these kind of cars. A Ferrari whizzes through, shot off track there. At the front, it was a Skyline that was leading for the first lap, but coming under fire from a Camaro as they go around the final turn. The Camaro gets brave, goes all the way around the outside of the final corner, and just completely outdrags the Skyline. Doesn't quite leave for a lap as the Camaro now inherits the lead and is gone. The Chevy was so bloody fast in a straight line. This final corner was proving a good overtaking spot for cars going around the outside, as a Ferrari GTO then promptly does a very, very similar thing on a Clio V6. It's very rare you see so many overtakes around the outside at that final corner, and again the Ferrari had a lot of straight line speed and could promptly vanish away from the Clio on the run down towards turn one. The Corvette that went for a little bit of a flight, well, he had a bit of a recovery drive to be doing. He got up to the back of an NSX as we get a very close up at the back of the Honda. He wants to get to the inside, but the NSX goes defensive. So we have yet another overtaking attempt around the outside, and the Corvette probably would have pulled it off if he hadn't got just a little bobble on the exit of the corner. Has to kind of correct it, ends up with a wheel on the sand, so can't get the pass done. He's still stuck on the outside of the NSX. The NSX does sort of maintain the position, but gets a big slide halfway through the corner. That allows the Corvette to again maintain that outside line. Corvette has just so much straight line speed, you can get past the Honda before they ever reach the corkscrew, and then the Honda's in the clutches of the Ferrari, the Clio. I think there's a Skyline involved in all of that. Indeed it is. It was a big group of cars further back. The Ferrari would drive away from this lot in a straight line, but of course they were better around the corners. The Ferrari had a look at the inside of the Honda, but couldn't really do anything through turn one, and in having that look, slowed both of them down. Now the Clio and Skyline are trying to get involved. Ignore the lagged out Ghost Supra around there. Just a big train of cars. Unfortunately, ahead of them, a Ferrari would have an off on the gravel, and as he was trying to get it all back under control again, the GTO would get a little bit scared, go to the inside, take a very, very tight line that would slow him down. Now the Clio sees his opportunity to get up alongside, and guess where he finds himself? Of course, it is on the outside. Ferrari going defensive. The Clio, it almost works out for the Renault. He just doesn't have the power, the straight line speed of that Ferrari. The Ferrari can hold it as they run up the hill. Clio's under threat slightly from the skyline, although he thinks better of it. In the end, the Ferrari just pushes it a little too hard on the corner, dips a wheel on the sand, gets it a bit sideways. The Clio will take the position back as they run up towards the corkscrew. The Ferrari has a go at the inside of the skyline, but he can't quite get it stopped and spins himself around on the back of the Nissan, and yeah, the Clio comes out of it unscathed. The Nissan, the Ferrari bumping into the Nissan had very little effect on the skyline. Up into second place, the skyline was holding on to that second, but he was coming under increasing pressure from the Ford Escort as they run up towards the corkscrew. We get another close-up of the back of a Japanese car. The Escort dives to the inside. It's a tough place though, getting an overtake done at the corkscrew. The Escort just manages to do it. Kind of gives the Skyline a little bit of a bump. The Skyline's forced to take a slightly tighter line down the corkscrew, but he throws his car up the inside through the next corner and almost gets the position back, but that puts you on the outside for the next turn as the Escort gives him another bump. There's a sliding Skyline as they come up towards the final turn. The Escort, I thought he was going to try to go around the outside, doesn't fancy it like everybody else had been doing, cuts it back to the inside, and then it's just a drag race down the start-finish straight, and the poor Nissan not quite having the straight line speed of the Escort Cosworth, and the Ford could get the position. A little bit of lag jumping around as well, nothing too terrible though, and yeah, the Escort just had the straight line speed. A good few corners though from them two being side by side through the latter half of the lap. My car for this race, I've gone for a Hyundai Genesis. I really like the Genesis. I think it's a really underrated car, and if built correctly, can be a very, very fast car. Unfortunately, this quick upgraded Genesis was not built correctly and was terrible. It really was an incredibly tough car to drive as things go wrong for me with a couple of laps to go over the bump. It's all going towards the first corner. I lose the back end and I'm in a lot of trouble doing that one. Yeah, the Genesis was not an easy car to drive. I kind of end up on the, well, what should be the pit exit, but Forza doesn't really like you being down there. And yeah, lose an awful lot of time. The Corvette goes past, Mercedes goes past. I'm back with the Clio. Yeah, not an easy car to drive. There was a mile of understeer on turn, and if you went near the throttle, there was a lot of oversteer. So a bit of a pain in the ass. My car at the front, though, it was the Camaro that would walk away with the victory here. Probably one of the best cars on track. Pulled miles away from the rest of the field. Yeah, a relatively straightforward victory for the Camaro, and the driver task celebrates by putting it in the tyre bundle. It was a much more exciting lap, though, for me, for the final one. I've had a fairly dreary, fairly unexciting race on the most part, but yeah, with my accident coming towards turn one, I was now embroiled in a battle with the Clio as we come down towards turn one. I had so much straight line speed in the Hyundai. It was great for straight line speed, terrible for everything else. Had a big dive up the inside, couldn't quite pull it up in time. The Corvette would have an off at turn one, very similar off to the one that I had, and yeah, I would still be stuck side by side fighting with this Clio. The Clio on the outside, but the Clio has so much more grip through these turns, although around the outside of here is not a place that you particularly want to be. I keep my car where it is, and the Clio can't really do anything about it as we run down this back straight. The Corvette is ahead of me. I'm not thinking about attacking the Corvette, though. It's just defend from that Clio. I know I have nowhere near the grip of the Vet, and while I did defend very well, I tried to get on the power. The car got all unsettled and twitchy. The Clio manages to outdrag me up the hill, forces me to look at the outside. I'm not going around the outside there. I will give the Clio the position for now. I get a lot of speed coming up towards the corkscrew, but again, I don't really have the grip. I don't have the trust in the brakes to do anything through here. It was more of a case for me at the moment was be neat. My best option was be neat and tidy, remain as close as I could to the Renault through here, and it was going to be the final corner and the run to the line where I stood a chance. And there was a Subaru watching just in case anything went wrong. Ahead of us, the Corvette goes around the outside of the Mercedes, which is enough to how many passes were done around the outside here, but it was an awful lot. The Clio, though, sticks a wheel on the dirt. I see my opportunity, have a big dive into the final corner. I get the car stopped and turned. Clio does the cutback on me, though, gets better run out of the turn, but there's all of the power. The straight line speed of the Genesis is enough for me to get the position. Yeah, fantastic final lap for me in this one. Rest of the race, not so good. The Genesis was not a good choice of car for this particular challenge. Our final race, we would go up to A-Class at the Nürburgring GP circuit. An F2000 car with its troubles getting off the line would cause a little bit of chaos in this one. Down towards turn 1 though, everybody did relatively well through here. The Viper we're following very, very nearly ends up in the back of the Pontiac there. Yeah, so the first hairpin here is always interesting. It's sort of such a long, fast approach to a really narrow hairpin, especially when we're all driving cars that we've never driven before and we don't know how they're going to be handling. I was in the green Audi Quattro, went for something different. I wanted to kind of mix up what cars I was running, so yeah, went for the Quattro. After it got going, of course, the F2000 car, very, very quick through the corners. The Viper here goes to the inside as a Solstice puts a wheel on the dirt. You know, we're having a wheel on the dirt. I follow him through as well, getting to the inside of the Solstice. I was around the outside of the next part of the corner, but I could get the pass done. It was quite a busy opening lap at the front, and a Viper was going side by side with a Ford GT. That's a horrible place going. It's a horrible corner to begin with, especially on the first lap with cars you don't know. Going side by side up there is quite a brave move, and the Viper gets the pass done, runs a little bit wide, but the GT sliding an awful lot. A Corvette has a big lunge up the inside. They're almost trying to go 3 wide. That's a really nasty place for an overtake as well. That's one of my least favourite corners on the track, and getting a pass done there is such a slightly dodgy corner almost for getting passes done, but the Corvette does well to get the move completed. The Viper then goes to the outside of the Subaru Impreza, tries to keep his car there. He manages to. I'm not sure if there's a slight tag on the Impreza or the Impreza locked his brakes slightly. Either way, the Subaru ends up in a little bit of trouble. The Corvette, though, was the quickest through that section of all of them. Corvette's to the inside around the final corner, trying to get the power down very sideways. ZR1 there out of the final turn. It's just a drag race now between the Vet and the Viper. The GT was past the Subaru as well, and he was there just in case anything went wrong. As they come down towards the first corner, the Grey Viper was up with this group as well. Corvette gets the lead, but gets it very, very briefly as he runs wide on the exit. The Viper will fight his way back past, and still the Corvette was looking to try and get underneath, but couldn't quite get a manoeuvre done. The GT outbrakes himself, runs very, very wide through the next corner, and the Viper now has the lead and just a little bit of a safety margin back to the car behind. Further back, there was still some battling going on, this time between an ACR Viper and an Audi R8. The Viper tries to go to the outside, a little bit of lag, he's a little bit squeezed out there, then cutting back to the inside, trying to find a way past the Audi, sorry. And that puts him on the outside for the next corner. I said it was impressive going up the inside around here. It's a pretty tough place to get a pass done. Going around the outside there is a very good overtake. Getting that manoeuvre done, having enough grip in the ACR Viper there to go around the outside. Yeah, that's a damn tough overtake to do. For me, well, I had another relatively quiet race. The Silver Viper that had been very, very quick at the start made a mistake and dropped back to 5th and was now putting pressure on my Quattro, while I had been gradually gaining on the Subaru that was now in 3rd. The Audi was a pretty good car, a little bit too slidey for my liking. It also had nowhere near the straight line speed of the Viper. The Viper was phenomenally fast in a straight line. I thought I was going to be good enough on the brakes not to have to worry about going defensive. That wasn't the case at all. The Viper's around the outside of the Quattro. We touch ever so slightly. The Viper gets a little bit of a slide on, but he gets the position, outbrakes himself into the final turn. I see my opportunity, and using that 4-wheel drive traction, managed to get my car back ahead, but it's only briefly. As we come down the start-finish straight, the Viper has so much straight line speed. There is nothing I can do about it. My Quattro was pretty damn good for straight line speed as well, but there's no match for the Viper. And all the meanwhile, while we're doing this, the Subaru can just get away a little bit while we continue to squabble. It's just the traction I get, though, from the 4-wheel drive system. If I can use it to my advantage, I can make myself a real nuisance for the Viper. He runs a little bit wide on the exit. I just do a cutback, get my vehicle to the inside, and still we go side by side. A little bit of oversteer from the Audi. I'm stuck on the outside through the next corner again, get a big twitch of oversteer through the next corner, end up out wide. A little bit of rallycross using the Audi's rally heritage there on the outside. Still, no matter, the Viper will outdrag me towards the next corner. We're side by side yet again for this whole first half a lap. We were side by side. I got stuck on the outside. Again, ignore the Ghost Ferrari this time around. But in the end, I just managed to force the Viper into a mistake. He took a too narrow a line on the way in, stuck a wheel on the sand on the way out, and then couldn't get the car off it. And I would regain the position, but it was only a matter of time, and it didn't take long for the Viper to catch back up to my Audi as I ran a little bit too deep into the chicane. This time, the Viper would be much better positioned coming in to the final turn. Doesn't outbrake himself this time around. I try my best to keep it around the outside, and I get a fantastic sort of launch off the corner, but there's no answer to the straight line speed of the SRT Viper, and he is God as he races down towards turn 1. I know my car was pretty good on the brakes, so I was kind of ready in case I go very late on the brakes. I do get it stopped, got a bit close to the back of the Viper there. The Subaru in third, though, makes his first mistake of the day. Wheel on the dirt on the outside of turn 1, and that his nice safety margin he had is now completely gone, as he got a very, very big slide. Did well to catch it, but now he's got a very, very quick Viper behind him, and my Audi is coming with him as we round on towards this next back straight. Little bit of lag. There wasn't too much though, thankfully, in all of this. The Viper, using that straight line speed, just outdrags the Subaru before they ever even get to the corner. That's how much speed there was, and the Viper was then still pretty good when it came through the turns. And now it was my turn to look for a way past the Subaru, as I was right there. I had more straight line speed than the Impreza, and as we come down towards the hairpin, as I pull out of the slipstream, I get a surprisingly big slide. I wasn't expecting that, and wasn't really ideal. Yeah, there was just not quite enough grip in my Audi, but I get myself to the inside of the hairpin, can get it stopped and get it turned and get past the Impreza. However, coming up the hill through the very fast chicane, you can see the oversteer problems I was fighting with the Quattro, the Subaru, far faster through there. I have to go a bit defensive. Of course, the second I'm starting going defensive, I'm compromising lines. I'm slower through the first part, trying to fend off the Impreza, and again, slower through the second part. Fortunately for me, though, the Impreza, trying to make some time up, runs a little bit wide, puts a wheel on the sand, and that gives me the safety margin that I need. And while all of that was going on, at the front, it was the yellow Viper that was to go and take victory. The Corvette would remain close throughout the race, but yeah, the Viper was to go and take it. These things were stupidly fast. You saw how quick the grey one was compared to the car, to my Quattro and the Subaru and so on. Corvette was also pretty damn quick as well. I had absolutely no answer to them. The Quattro was decent, and it would come home in fourth, but I had no answer to those American cars. So if we were to draw some conclusions from this, well, if you're going to be quick upgrading your vehicle, you want to be starting off with something American. That is most definitely the way to go. They were very, very dominant in all of the races. While the BMW won the first race, the Americans were second and third, and both mine and the Corvette were very, very fast. Around Road Atlanta, yeah, there was no answer to them at Laguna Seca. The Camaro that took victory, the Corvette that went for a flight, was still a very, very quick car. And come Nürburgring, not a hope in hell of keeping up with the Vipers. The American cars really, really did dominate this. However, it was very good fun driving some different, slightly random vehicles almost. The cars that came out of it, on the most part, weren't too bad. There were the odd ones out that were god-awful, like my Genesis. Yeah, like the Quattro I had at the end, it wasn't a bad car. It just couldn't keep up with some of the other vehicles. It was an interesting challenge, certainly, to see what would happen with the cars, and we got plenty of really close racing, which is always what we want with these. But that is it for this video, guys. Thank you very much for watching, and until next time, goodbye.